been with a gold background. It's just that secure, there won't be any more, but we can split it up. So just like gold was the world's reserve before, you can do the same thing with Bitcoin. Just split up what the value of each little cutoff would be.
But we've seen how great forking Bitcoin works. Making any changes to it. Let's do SigWit 2x. Yay.
So, on that, and not to necessarily go away from unpopular opinions, we can come back if people want to, but how do you do that? Like, how does DigiByte drive consensus without, and being able to take the whole community with you?
Well, that was actually, so we had someone similar coming along, and they said, I think it was actually in response to that tweet you were talking about, was, how do you get everybody on board? Like, surely, like, he's like, what's to stop me from coming and changing things? And I said to this guy, I'm like, nothing. You can go and do it. And if your idea is better, then I'll jump on board. And we'll use this, DigiByte 2.0 or whatever. But the fact of the matter is if anybody were to come along and decide, no, we're not doing scaling on the chain, we're doing it all off chain, and that's how we're doing it, then that's kind of a little bit counter to the whole idea behind DigiByte, I suppose. That would be like going to Monero and going, you know what? We're not doing private transactions anymore. We're going to fork Monero and do public everything. Like, that's pointless. Why waste your time? Pick a blockchain that does what you want, that's already out there. Like, you don't have to go and mess around with, this one specifically. But I mean, if you want to, sure, go ahead and try your luck and see what happens.
Gotcha.
Has there been any talk of introducing any kind of privacy features in DigiByte in the background at all?
I mean, there's always been discussion about it, but I feel like if you're Monero and everything is private by default with their ring CT and all that sort of thing, you are immediately in a much better place than an existing, like, let's say compared even just to Zcash, where you could do private, but they estimate that only like 2% of all transactions are private. Not to mention it's a pain in the ass to actually be private with Zcash. It's really dumb. So I kind of feel like Monero have that sort of aspect down pat. And you don't need to be all things to all people. So that's why I look at Bitcoin and I'm like, you know what? Don't scale to be peer-to-peer daily cash for 8 billion people in the world. Why do you need to do that? Like, why can't you just be the medium of exchange, like the default value proposition that all other blockchains base themselves against, where one day you'll have $1 million Bitcoin, a $10 million Bitcoin or something. Like, you don't need to be all things to all people. That's why you've disabled the opcodes, because you don't need to be, storing data in OP return or running any kind of an ICO on top of it. You've got other stuff that'll do that faster or better, but it's not your value proposition, so who cares? It's fantastic. It's my theory.
Good stuff. Yeah.
There is another question out here, lingering.
Yeah.
In cyberspace.
Well, I will say that you definitely you know how to win me over with that last statement.
What, the $10 million Bitcoin or?
That too, yeah.